Hello, 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 and happy Thanksgiving. We're doing Thanksgiving dinner today because I am going to be out of town for the actual holiday. Plus, no one's going to be watching on the holiday. You wouldn't do a show on the holiday. But yeah, so Thanksgiving today. Typical fashion, I'm doing a weird one. The turkey I've got, I've been thawing it here in the sink. Should be ready to go. The turkey I've got, I showed turkey necks. They're very drippy. That's our turkey. We're making a thing. You'll see as I go. I've got most of the elements I think that you'd think of as like the Thanksgiving spread. I'm not doing Brussels sprouts, but we might throw some cabbage in somewhere. I've got some cabbage that's pretty similar. But that's the plan. We're making Thanksgiving dinner. All the parts are going to be there, but it's going to be a weird shape. It's going to be assembled, as I say, to go, handheld. I was just putting the last few things away since I'm going to be generating a whole bunch more dishes. It would be nice to have our space clear. That does not fit up there. Mags! Hi, how's it going? Brussels sprouts are normal on my Thanksgiving table. I think of them as a pretty common addition. Maybe not. Maybe I'm the weird one. Well, of course I'm the weird one. We already know I'm the weird one. Let me just get things tidied up. Did all my dishes got caught up because I knew I was going to be producing a large quantity more. And we're going to start with the turkey, actually. As always, the turkey takes the longest. This is going to be a pretty basic thing, though, because we're putting it in the magic pot. Pop that over here. Of course, you're familiar with the pot part of the magic pot, which I will stick off to the side. I think I want to actually cut the package open right in there to save the drippy juices, because they're just going to cook out anyways. So this is something that you only really find this time of year when they are processing all of the turkeys for Thanksgiving. Flamingo, fancy seeing you here. This is the same phenomenon around why pork is so cheap during the ham seasons. You get all the parts of the turkey that aren't the main part of the turkey. Cheap and abundant. These guys are... Oh, there's a whole bunch of them in here. We might not use all 4 of them. Wow, there's 4 of them in here. If I don't use all 4 of them, I don't know what else I'm going to do with them. So we're going to use all 4 of them. So I got turkey neck, which you will find in the giblets if you get a whole turkey with the giblets, but oftentimes it is omitted. Get these to sort of rest in a sane way in here. They are cheap and available. You also see wings, although those are less cheap because they're more appealing. Wash my hands real quick here. There shouldn't be a ton of handling of raw meat this time. So the reason I want turkey necks is A, they are inexpensive and available right now. But B, they are one of the parts that has the most connective bits. So we should get some really nice drippings out of them to make a gravy with. Now, I'm going to pressure cook them so that I don't have to wait a million years for this. But I want as little liquid in there as I can get. But since I'm pressure cooking them, there has to be some liquid in there, or there'll be nothing to build the pressure. So I have a little bit of no salt chicken stock left, and I did pick up another one of reduced salt. Chicken broth, and then 2 cups should be all the liquid I need. Oh yeah, and if you are cooking along, I, as always, would love to hear what you are cooking up. So step 1, we're using some stock and some broth so that we're not going to water it down too much. We're going to end up cooking some of the water out of it later. We just need enough to get the pressure building, and we're going to pressure cook this stuff until it falls apart, which, as always, that needs to go in first because it's going to take the longest, even though it is a shortcut measure. So on. I guess I'm going to set it to 20 minutes and hope that's good. They're pretty narrow pieces. They're pretty thin pieces. So you only need a lot of time when the thing is huge and it really has to push through. So that's step 1. We're going to clean up the countertop real quick. I'm watching my pressure cooker as it goes as well, because I was cooking something the other day and I had a little pressure pop. I wasn't on a pressure mode, I was on a steam mode, but it gave me a little like steam was trying to force its way out, not through the vent, but through the lid lock. So I'm keeping an eye on it because I don't like that necessarily. Here's my new garlic press. I got a brand new garlic press. Okay, so turkey, part 2, potatoes. Yeah, this is the kind of garlic press I like, where it's all metal. This one, I just washed it, so it's got a little bit wet on it. And the press plate here, first of all, doesn't have any gaps for stuff to get out to escape. So it'll squeeze up, but it won't just sort of squirt out the sides. But then also it's fully removable, so it's really easy to clean. We haven't used it yet because I literally just got it and just got it yesterday and just washed it today. So I guess we'll give it a try. I was going for potatoes. We want some Mashed potatoes. I'm not going to make an enormous feast today since I'm intending to cook mostly for myself and have some leftovers, but I'm off to a whole nother dinner for Thanksgiving Day with my family. So I don't really want a ton of extra leftovers. So we're just picking 2 big potatoes, and we're going to go with 2 big potatoes. I'm leaving the skins on. I like the skins. We are also going to cheat some with this. I have an idea for this stuff. We're going to make something fun out of that. Actually, I should open the box and take a look at what I've got to work with, because I have an idea, but I haven't actually looked at the product. It smells good. It's mostly just dried up bread. We're going to have to pulverize that soon. So I'm not following the recipe at all for it. Box directions be gone. For our potato, one pot. Sorry. We want to go 1 up on the pot. Spear, you are somehow first. No one can ever take that away from you. You were the first one here, as is proven. Welcome in. Hi. Okay, as I've mentioned before, the general wisdom, and I have not taken the time to test it myself, so I'm just trusting, is that for vegetables that grow below the ground, start them in cold water, bring them up to a boil. Grows above ground, boil it, and throw them in. So we're cold water on those potatoes. We're going to bring them up to a boil because we want mashed potatoes. Let's see, I need to grind this. So I am going to be rapidly sort of switching between my things here because I kind of want all of it to be done at the same time. And Thanksgiving food is one of those things, it's a collection of those things. They all kind of, everything takes a while, and there's a million different things that cook in different ways. Zizan, hi. Hello. This stuff needs to be pulverized, for which do I want to use a grinder, or do I just want to put it in a bag and bash it up? By put it in a bag, I mean it's already in a bag, so just we're gonna just clamp it shut and bash it, see what happens. My spice rack is falling off. How is that working? Not super well. I guess we're going to go with a grinder because that's not really making much progress. I'm just kind of causing an earthquake on my spice rack. So it's too much for my spice grinder, which is why I was hoping not to have to use a machine for it. We're going to use the old, like, standard blender. This should go real quick, in theory. Why am I so... Well, I'm working fast because I expect that this is going to take a while, and I don't want any individual part to take too long. So if you missed it, I already threw the box away. This is just store-bought, like, instant stuffing. I want to grind perfect. We have a breadcrumb consistency. I don't see any big chunks. Perfect. That was the right machine for the job. So the whole concept today was actually initiated by there being a sale on instant stuffing and me thinking, I wonder if I could do something with that. And then a bunch of brainstorming. I feel like this stuff, this instant stuffing, is more. It's more flexible than I think I've realized in the past. On account of it's seasoned bread, like breadcrumbs, but it comes in different flavors, whereas Italian seasoned breadcrumbs typically don't. The only issue being that it's not typically crumbs. But I'm turning this into a dough. The idea here is to turn it back into a bread, kind of, and bind it together. I'm watching all my things. That's on seal. The potatoes are just starting to bubble. But as I don't have a recipe for this, I don't know entirely where we're headed. So I guess I'm just kind of playing around with it. I was about to rinse my hands off, but I don't need to because I'm going to just get in there. Okay. It wants to pick the moisture up, of course, because it is dehydrated. I'm hoping one egg is enough to get us to a cohesive state. The potatoes have started to bubble audibly. So let me go knock them down a scooch. And the pressure is up on the pressure pot, so that's going to start now pressuring, or cooking, because it's pressurized. Okay, that's not enough liquid from just one egg to bind us together, so we're going to give it a second egg. I would like, if possible, our liquid in this to just be eggs. Because they have protein and fat that will help bind this together. Because I want this to bind. I want this to bind and start to form a shapeable mass. We might add a little bit of something if I can't get it with just 2 eggs. I think 3 eggs would be too much. It would make it too eggy. Like you'd start to taste eggy. And that I don't want. But we need it to be wet enough that I can like shape it. We're definitely in the realm of wet enough to shape it. It really wants to stick to itself. Part of the odd thing with this stuff is going to be that because it's an instant thing, it's been processed to loosen up the starches so that they will hydrate super rapidly with just a little bit of hot water. But actually, I'm reasonably happy with how that came together. Let's clean up our dust. Whenever you got something that's like starchy in a package that's like instant or quick and it thickens up, if you check on the ingredients, it likely contains, and I don't know about this one for sure, I'll check, but it likely contains something along the lines of modified food starch, and that is a processing this actually does not contain modified food starch. So unclear, but like instant sauces, instant puddings and stuff, they'll contain modified food starch. And what that is it's pre-gelatinized. When you cook starches in liquids to make like a sauce or something, or when you make a roux and you cook it in the fat before you add the liquid, you're gelatinizing the starches so that when they get in the water, they dissolve. If you just take a big glob of cornstarch and throw it in hot water, it's going to seize up into a clump, not dissolve into the water. Modified food starch is just pre-gelatinized starches. Although this stuff apparently doesn't have it, so it must be because it's cooked bread that has then been dehydrated, that the starches are already unraveled. We don't need to do anything more with that because that's going to be the outer shell of our turkey. What else am I doing? What else am I doing? I'm doing everything at once today. I've had an idea. And this is going to be just a weird nonsense thing. So heads up, this one might be a total fail. So cranberries. You always learn so much here. Well, I aim to please. Cranberries. If you've never seen them before, this is what fresh cranberries look like. They're little red guys. They feel like hollow plastic balls, and they're pretty bouncy. Yeah, that's a small enough number that I think I'm going to downsize them to the little pot. Yeah. Cranberries are waterproof and they float. And they have a little bit of trapped air inside of them. So if you cook them in liquid, they will float until they suddenly start to pop. If you cook them without liquid, they will also start to pop, and then they will release their own juices, which then will form the sauce. You can make cranberry sauce by putting cranberries in a pot and making them hot, and the ones at the bottom will start to burst, and eventually the whole thing will turn into a sauce. And then it will be so sour that you can't eat it, and you'll have to add a bunch of sugar to it, because these things are very, very sour. But I had a different idea, for which actually I need them out of there again, because I need to start... So they're going to live in the measuring cup. But I need to start something else in this pot before I start them. Schnapsity! Actually, yes. They do behave quite a bit like popcorn. But before we get that far, I need some butter. I'm not making standard old cranberry sauce. So why would anything I make be normal? That's crazy. Also, welcome in, Schnapsity. According to my thing, that's your first time chatting here. So, welcome, welcome. We're building a little bit of a roux in that pot before I put the cranberries in, because I want my stuff to thicken. Which means I need my tower of flour. I wasn't intending to use flour for anything else. I could have mixed a little bit into the stuffing crumb here, just to make it a little more dough-like. I might still actually do that, because it's a little crumbly. I'm a little worried. I'll let that melt before I throw the flour in, make a mess. How are the potatoes coming? Let's find out by just stabbing. They're probably just about ready. I'm gonna turn the heat off and let them stop bubbling on their own. Oh, an ad just snuck up on me. Caution, an ad is approaching. A minute ago. We'll revisit the flour when we come to trying to use this crumb dough. It might be too crumbly. We might just add a little bit of flour to it to make it more dough-like. Okay. I just didn't want the flour to be naked on the metal there. That is too hot. Okay. So what I was saying about gelatinizing your starches, that's literally what I'm doing here with the butter. Making a roux is I'm gelatinizing the starch in the flour so that when liquid is then later added to it, it dissolves instead of clumping up. So, you know, I guess we'll find out what happens now, because I'm also going to add, for some reason, chicken broth to, to this. Okay, and then that needs to come to a boil. For which I think I'm going to move it to the front corner because it'll lay more level and you don't need to watch it so closely. You guys don't need to see it. We've already done the exciting part. This back coil is slightly bent, so things don't rest on it level. And if I'm ever cooking something here, I have to reach over to reach it, which is always awkward. So we've got chickeny cranberries. We've got potatoes. We've got the turkey steaming up. The potatoes have stopped bubbling, so I can get them out of there. Oh, this does not need to be full of water anymore because I'm not thawing anything in there anymore. Okay, our cranberry chicken mixture is very thick, perhaps too thick, and bubbling vigorously. Okay, we're gonna let the potatoes cool off a little bit before I go in. No, because I want to shape them too, so I should mash them now. I think I over thickened the cranberry chicken goo. So just a nice basic mash here. I haven't added any liquid to this. I want to get them mashed up before I add any liquid to it because I think it's harder to mash them when they... it's harder to do the initial mashing when there's something in there. To which we will add... How much do I want? Some cream. Gonna start with 2 tablespoons. Cream's one of those things that I think doesn't get used in home kitchens enough. It is not good for you. It is unhealthy, but damn is it tasty, and it is one of the ingredients that is used heavily in restaurant kitchens that makes things in restaurants taste better. They use a lot of cream, they use a lot of butter, they use a lot of salt. And that's why restaurant food tastes better than your home cooking, because your home cooking, you're shy about putting in a ton of extras of any of these things. I don't want these to be too wet, though, so I gotta be careful. I need a tool to stir around my cranberry chicken slime. The cranberries are starting to burst because the stuff is turning pink, but I definitely over-thickened it. We're going to have to add more liquid to do a deglaze. I don't know what this is going to be like. I really honestly am just making this one up based on a idea I had and a single photograph. Julia Child did never shy away from butter and cream. That's true. But I feel like the low-fat movement kind of knocked down the use of butter and cream in home kitchens in the U.S. Quite a lot. Let's, yeah, that's sort of sticking to itself. Okay, good. That's what I wanted. Doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. Just has to kind of stick to itself and be shapeable, because everything's going to be shaped. Everything in moderation. But that's the trick. To make things super delicious, it's not moderation. It's dump in a lot of butter and cream and salt. Here, let's pop over to the front and center. So you see I've got you can't really see, I've got a skin on the bottom. That's the starches in my flour sticking to the bottom of the pot. Honestly, this probably should have gone in that other pot just because the other pot has a non-stick bottom. It's also a lot thicker than I was shooting for, so I think I'm just going to add some plain old water just to thin it out a little bit. At least to try to get that okay, it's going to look bad for a minute while it incorporates. Okay. Switching tools again because I need the straight edge of my scraper. Try to loosen up that coating on the bottom. The machine says my turkey is done. I'm gonna let that depressurize on its own for a little bit before I dive in. So if you haven't realized what this pink stuff, what the concept of this pink stuff is, it's not cranberry sauce. See there, our starch glued onto the bottom there. I have to come out with this with the whisk. I overheated it, and I also put too much thickener in, and it thickened itself and stuck to the bottom. It should still be able to redissolve. I just need to be gentle with it. Or vigorous. One of the two. Okay. This is cranberry gravy I'm trying to make. Cut! You resubscribed! Oh my god. Thank you so much. What are we cooking today? What are we cooking today? We're making a traditional Thanksgiving feast. Except I'm throwing all tradition out the window and I'm making a bunch of nonsense. So what I've got cooking in the pot here, in the pink stuff, is cranberries, a butter roux, cranberries, and chicken broth, and a little bit of water because it was too thick, to make a cranberry gravy, which we're going to have to taste because I don't know where we're headed with it, and I want to know what it tastes like. Up behind it here, we have some classic mashed potatoes that are not going to stay classic once I get my hands in them. Our sauce here is nice and thick. It's cheek-pinching sour. And like a creamy savory. Oh, that's weird. And I don't hate it. It needs things. And you can't quite see it, but hidden up where my fingers are here, the magic pot just beeped a second ago to tell us that the turkey neck, because yes, I got turkey necks, that the turkey necks back there are ready to go. So this stuff needs some salt, and it needs some pepper, and it needs less heat, because I think we've gone back to a sort of thick gravy consistency already. We're not sweetening this, though. This is exactly what I said not to do when I was talking about the cranberries at the beginning, where you can't eat them without some sweetness because they are so tart. I just don't feel like I want to sweeten them up. Okay. Give that a taster. See how we're doing. This is what we say by coat the back of a spoon. You dip your spoon in, and if it just makes this nice perfect sheen, that's coat the back of a spoon. That's what you want your sauce to look like. The salt helps a ton. Wow, that's weird. That's weird. Hey, don't knock boxed mac and cheese. I've got a whole stock of it up here in the corner. I got a whole stock of it. Store brand boxed mac and cheese. Don't knock that stuff. That's a good thing. And it's a great example of what I was talking about pre-gelatinized starches, because that's how they make the sauce, the powder, the cheese powder, turn into a thick sauce. It's got pre-gelatinized starches in it. To amplify the, some of these cranberries had not burst yet. So we're gonna go through and squish them just to make sure that they have all at least popped. Okay. I'm reasonably pleased with that. You want sauces in general to be very punchy, kind of too much on their own. So it's good to have them seem like you've gone too far. We're adding some powdered ginger because I think that'll be a good complement to what we've got going in there. I guess I'll set it aside to kind of rest and mellow and meld together. We'll do one last taste since I did just add something to it. Taste as you go. We're going to get that guy off the heat though, so that the bottom does not stick. That's interesting. That's not... I like it, but I don't know that I love it. It's interesting. Okay, things are coming through pretty good. Things are coming together pretty good here. Let's pop back over to the countertop. Our stuffing mixture has gotten... Is it shapeable or is it too crumbly? I think it's a little bit too dry. I think it's just a little bit too dry. So I am going to get some flour, and then we're going to add a little bit of cream to it to enhance the richness. Since you're supposed to add butter to these box mixes to sort of richen them up. So it can enhance the richness while giving us a little bit of liquid. So getting out the cream again. I'm not sure how much I want to add. Not too much. So, Max, does that mean your kitchen is ready for action? Or does that mean your kitchen's not ready for action? %90 done. Well, that's getting there. It's getting there. I'm going to go pressure release our turkey real quick. It's going to be a loud hissing sound because it's giving me little, tiny little whistly noises. Okay, does this stuff stick? No, it very much crumbles apart. I need this to stick. To itself. It's never going to be a dough as good as a fresh bread dough, but it absolutely has to stick for what I want to do with it. The extra flour should give us help in getting it to bind to itself. I would love for it to hold together enough to get it out of the bowl and knead it on the countertop. Okay, we got to get the turkey out of there because it needs to cool off enough for me to handle, and I need to get the juices out of there and into a pot. Okay. How you doing, stuffing ball? Oh. Now we're gonna shape it with our fingers rather than with a pin anyways, so having it a little bit too stiff is probably fine. Since I'm not using it immediately, and we've had problems with that before, and also just now it went crumbly a little bit, I'm gonna wrap it in plastic just to keep it hydrated. My plastic is almost run out. We're just gonna wrap the whole thing here in plastic, just so it does not dry out while I'm doing other things. Okay. Because we need to get the turkey out of the pressure pot. Take a look at it. Move things. Move the blender base. Move the blender lid. And the cutting board can be my hot plate. Unlock. Unlock. Stop. Open. And there they are after 20 minutes in the old pressure pot. They smell like cooked turkey. I'm sure they're cooked through. It's just a question of, are they fall apart? Which is what we're going to find out right now. With a pair of tongs. They're not immediately completely disintegrating, which is good, but they are coming apart a little bit. So I think we've hit what I wanted. I wanted them to be tender, but handleable. Because I want to get the bones out of them so that we can actually use the meat bits. Because that's the reason that turkey neck's not a very popular part. A lot of bones in there. A lot of little bones in there. Okay, and our juices are going to go, which is a combination, that is hot. Our juices, which are a combination of the broth we started with and the connective bits from the turkey. And I'm going to scrape down the sides because we had a little bit of a rise up. Okay, we're going to start reducing that. Or do I want to just add it to my... Well, if we could have used that as the base for our cranberry gravy. This could have been the liquid. We're not doing that because I'm making this into its own thing over the burner here. It's going to need a thickener. And since it's already hot liquid, I think we're going to have to go with the cornstarch route, but I want to reduce it first because it's a little too watery. Let's give it a taste, though. It tastes pretty good. It tastes like sort of boosted broth, which I suppose is exactly what it is because we started with broth and we added turkey to it. It needs a little bit of salt. We used low sodium for both of those. Well, no sodium for one of them and low sodium for the other one of our broths that went into it. Okay. Boy, it sure feels like everything's almost ready, but then I pull out a new thing. Behold, ham. I know people like ham for Thanksgiving, and I don't get it. But maybe I will if I ham it up myself. This is a frozen smoked ham that I'm taking some pieces off of. It's obviously a ham end. It's the tail bit. I only needed a little bit of ham. I'm not a huge ham eater. I found the smallest one they had. Oh, we hit an ad. An ad snuck up on me once again. Once again, as always. So this ham is fully cooked, ready to eat, and it's cold and it's kind of wet. And I want it diced. My turkey drippings have come to a boil. I can hear them back there. So we're going to turn them down because I'd want them to simmer, not vigorously boil. My family's never been a ham family. Although I know that is the other main option. So I wanted to include it here. What other thing go on a Thanksgiving plate spread? Sweet potato is pretty common, but I'm having a hard time figuring out where I'm going to incorporate it without it being redundant to the existing potato, because it's a third starch in the way that I'm cooking these, at least. Ham. Well, wait till you see how this assembles before you suggest vegetable. Although, if I was to do a vegetable, what would you suggest? I might just mince up some cabbage and have that be our vegetable, because I think it needs something to go with the meats in my finished thing. We're making little hand pockets out of this. So we're making we're making portable food out of Thanksgiving ingredients. I haven't said up to this point what I'm making, except for a hint in the title of to go. I don't have a lot of vegetables either. I didn't pick up extra vegetables for this. So I've got some frozens. We have okra, peas, cabbage, onions, potatoes, carrots, a sweet potato, mushrooms, let's taste the potato. Boy, I love sweet potato, or not regular potatoes. I love sweet potatoes too. Wonder if I can incorporate the sweet potato in an unorthodox way. All right, I'm all of a sudden brainstorming new nonsense. I mean, Thanksgiving is a very meat and starch and starch and starch meal. A vegetable is often thrown on the table as a, oh, by the way, have a vegetable. Where's my turkey necks? Turkey necks. Let's see how they're doing. So they come apart easily with my fingers. So I think we've reached that tenderness level. I just need to get all of the bones out without losing the meat parts. Because I don't just want stock, I want the meat. We're just going to open my trash here and dump the turkey bones as I extract them. So this is good. This is perfect. It's shreddable, but not so disintegratingly soft that they just turned into a mush in the pot. So we've broken down the connective tissue, which means it's in that pot of juice back there. Which is where we want it. but I didn't have to strain it out. Ow, it's still hot. Tamis Design. Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome in. We are boning a turkey neck and shredding the turkey off of it with our fingers, which is hot. I have turkey drippings simmering and reducing on the stove. We've got mashed potatoes. We've got cranberry gravy. If I put my hand over here, it freaks my camera out. We have a ball of stuffing that's been turned back into a dough. So it's Thanksgiving, but it ain't your mama's Thanksgiving. It ain't my mama's Thanksgiving either. It's I'm making stuff up. Okay, it's a little bit harder to get it off the thick end of the neck, but that's fine. Chicken salad croissant sandwich with crackers, cheese, meat, Southwest Ranch dip, and chips. That sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good. Oh. Now this is... The turkey is the most time-consuming element of our dinner, no matter what stage we're at. Boning it is just kind of fussy, and there's no way to shortcut this. Really, we're getting quite a lot of turkey out of it, which I'm pleased with. If you like dark meat and you don't mind some fuss, turkey necks are often available cheap around Thanksgiving in the US on account of them being removed from all those turkeys that are being sold for whole roast turkey. And if you don't want to fuss with getting the meat off of them like I'm doing here, you can still use them as a excellent source for stock, which we did as well. Which I need to keep an eye on so that it does not over reduce. But as you might expect with all these bones, there's a lot of connectors, and the connectors are what makes a nice rich stock. Turn the heat down on that because I think we are reducing quite forcibly over there. I'm surprised how much we're getting. I thought we were going to get less. I thought we were going to get noticeably less than this out of the necks, and I'm pleasantly surprised because last time I did this with necks, it was chicken necks, and they are, one, a lot shorter, and B, a lot thinner. Yeah, I said 1 and B. What of it? The chicken necks were very hard to get anything usable off of. Oh, news for the channel. Seeing as it's Black Friday, for like a week, since Black Friday sales are so long now, I have taken the opportunity to invest a little bit of the generosity of you, the viewer, back into the channel. And I've gotten a replacement headset that is low profile and wireless so that I can finally do sound effects in the kitchen without having the giant crazy headset that I hated. So I don't have it set up yet. I don't have any sound effects picked out, but that's exciting. We gotta come up with some alerts for the channels now that it's actually going to be audible. That's the reason I've never had any alerts. If I have them come out of my speakers, the mic will pick them up and I'll just get echo. And my headset is not good for me standing around and turning around and moving and all that stuff. It's a gamer headset for sitting still. I need to look into cameras too, since I've always talked about how this camera needs to be replaced. Well, there's sales on. Now's the time. Okay. Wow, we got a pretty good pile here, actually. Let's give it a taster. Tastes like turkey, but it's not dry at all. It's tender, but has a tiny bit of chew to it. That is pretty much exactly what I was looking for, which is perfect. Let me get it into a bowl. My hands are very schmutzy. Definitely got schmutz on the next bowl down. Should have gotten the bowl ready at the beginning. There's a few little bone pieces too, so I'll have to be careful when I'm eating it. Okay. So far, we are doing as well or better than I hoped. Nothing has gone wrong yet. We have another, of course, whole chapter of tonight's festivities to get through, so let's see. Definitely got turkey schmutz on some of these other bowls, and I have to not leave that in the cupboard. Turkey schmutz in the cupboard of clean bowls is not a good thing. We've just dirtied some bowls for nothing. We might end up using them. We might end up needing them. Okay, what are we on next? Let's check in with our drippings. Stuff is sticking to the side. We can get that down in there and get it redissolving. Okay. Give that a quick taste. See how our flavors have developed. Mmm. Oh. Tastes like gravy. Just needs to be thickened. Okay, perfect. Exactly what I'm looking for. The salt boosted it up, and the concentrating of it boosted it up. We just need... We're going to use some of my chicken stock, chicken broth, as the liquid for my cornstarch here. Okay. So, similar to what we were doing before, but this is a different type of starch. Cornstarch, good at thickening liquids, but you need to hydrate it before you add it to a hot liquid, because when it gets hot, it seizes up, which is what causes it to thicken. But if it's all in a clump, it'll form a shell around the dry part of itself in the middle of the clump. And then it won't mix. And we just dumped that in. I was in the wrong side for dumping. Dump that in, and it should, as it heats up, because it's cold now, but as it heats up, should thicken this into a gravy-like consistency. Although there's lots of chunks in here. How's this one? The other one has formed a pudding skin. And it currently tastes strange. So strange. That one's just kind of weird. I don't hate it, but it is weird. Okay, this guy might need a little more cornstarch or a little bit more reduction. Or maybe just a quick simmer to get it to bind together. Do I want to do... It's not too late to do a weird thing with a sweet potato, and it's not too late to do a little bit of cabbage. Coming over here. We're getting out the cabbage. Getting out some green onions. Am I getting anything else out? Am I getting anybody else out? I think the volume of our gravy might be too small. I'm looking at around a cup. So probably not. I think the results of my gravy is just not going to be voluminous enough. down to the middle part of a cabbage here. So I am going to use up some cabbage to help get rid of this guy. I think that's more cabbage than I need. Okay, we're going to treat this cabbage real quick in a... That guy's forming a skin, which means he's probably thick enough. Okay. Pan heat. This being Thanksgiving, we're just going to go with butter, because why not? Because really, you're not going to indulge at Thanksgiving. When are you going to indulge? Christmas? Possibly. So I want to use some cabbage, and I don't want it to be completely naked or completely raw. So it's going to go in that pan. We're going to medium saute it. Are we at coat a spoon? Where's my spoon? Are we at coat a spoon with our turkey drippings? Oh God, it sure tastes good, but it's not quite at the thickness I was shooting for. We might add a little bit more starch to try to get that to seize up. Although I don't want it to seize up, I want it to still be like pourable gravy. So maybe we're good, because the cranberry one might actually be a little bit too thick. It's more like a pudding. Okay. And we'll toss our... Oh, this knife is getting a little dull. Toss our green onions in there with it. And I guess that's going to be our vegetable. Cabbage isn't much of a vegetable, but here we are. Okay, we don't want this to be cooked to death. I just want it to be tenderized a little bit. And a little bit of salt. And a little bit of salt. Probably start getting these pots off the stove because I'm going to end up putting more pots on the stove because we're still not done yet. What kind of Thanksgiving would it be if we stopped here? Okay, and I'm going to throw some black pepper and hit the heat off. I think we are good. Okay. Okay, we need to get you off the heat. We can use you to soak up some of the residual heat. Next. There's always a next. The potatoes. They're back. Are they cool enough? Yes, they're cooled more than enough for me to incorporate an egg. Because of course we're incorporating an egg into the potatoes. Didn't want to add this right away because it would scramble in the heat. And we need it to be a binder because we are also having a binder for our potatoes. Although the potatoes don't need nearly as much help as that stuffing stuff. So one will be sufficient here. Sticky. Wow, that made it sticky. I can destickify it. Wow, that made it sticky. I have the tool for this, but I got to do it with one hand. Oh, I have an ad, and the camera is drifting off. So while you were away at the ad, I don't know if you were away at the ad, while you were at the ad, I threw an egg into my mashed potatoes. And then it became a very gluey thing. So I'm adding potato starch to soak up some of the extra liquid, which should not impact our flavor, but should get us back to a more potatoey, mashed potatoey texture and less of a glue. It was a little bit too much of a glue. Good thing I had potato starch on hand. The kitchen stocked with every random odds and ends you can think of results in me having every random odds and ends. We should have added a little bit less cream at the beginning, knowing that I was going to add the egg and that was going to add a bunch more liquid to the to the thing here. I need to scrape my fingers off. I am making mashed potato croquette, kind of. You've put your finger on it. Everything we're making is different. Also, hi Raya, welcome in. Welcome, welcome. It's Thanksgiving. I'm making Thanksgiving nonsense. This is sticky stuff. And yes, I am letting things get cold by sort of being distracted, but that's fine because everything is going to be reheated in the end beautifully. We are putting some turkey in the center, although we're not putting dressing in the center because the dressing is also a ball of dough. So yeah, I'm trying to make this into this mashed potato into a potato dough by adding starch to it. So that it is shapeable, sticks to itself, but doesn't stick to my hands while I'm shaping it, at least not real badly. Now, Ryuya comes in here and puts his finger right, or I suppose, I don't know, puts their finger right on the pulse of what is going on up in Mya. That should probably be enough, I think. The thing is, it was the perfect consistency before I added the egg, and the egg made it really sticky. I probably should have let it cool down completely and then added the egg and then adjusted upward from there, and I wouldn't have had to add the starch. So it's shapeable. We're getting to the point where it's shapeable. The easiest thing to do would just be to add some, just a little bit of standard wheat flour, just to finish off the thickening. So I will be actually doing that. We're reaching for some standard wheat flour, some all-purpose flour, just to finish it off. I didn't want it to taste bready, so I wanted it to be potato wherever possible, but I think potato starch is slightly different. All-purpose flour is a bit more drying. Okay, we're still a little sticky. We're still a little sticky, but I think I've gotten it back to where I can work with it without forming giant mittens of potato glue. Okay, now the question is also, do I want to try baking these or frying these? We've done a lot of frying lately, which has me tempted to go with a different method. They're going to need quite a bit of heat on the outside. I would like to get some browning going. The egg will help with that. I was not planning on using panko. I was planning on having some of them be potato and some of them be this stuff. And I don't know, big enough to get some real filling in there. And then we've got two dipping sauces, and that's what the two gravies are, dipping sauces. And then the cabbage mix is to bulk out the interiors a little bit if I need it. So, opinions. Baked versus fried. And either way I need to get... They wouldn't be deep fried, they'd be just pan fried, just flat fried, griddled, I suppose. That's probably the right choice. That's probably the right choice. We're going to use the non-stick. We're going to use the big non-stick because I'm a little afraid of it sticking. Yeah, because I want a crust to form on these guys. I was just thinking because we have... They're not all going to fit in that pan in one go. So there's going to be two batches of them if we do them on the stovetop. I guess I get a sheet out just to hold them. And a rack for when they come off. This. This goes here. I'm gonna move our gravies to the back layer so that we can have a tray sitting there. If I want to use the air fryer, I need to scrub out. Oh, I could do that. I need to scrub out the pot because we used the pot, the magic pot to cook the turkey. But butter. Okay, I don't need the tray here yet. What I need there, what I need is, I'm going to use the older tray. We're going to put the tray to my side over here like usual. We're going to move the bag of potatoes just out of the way somewhere. We're going to dust this with flour. Where did I put my flour tower? I put it behind the magic pot. We're going to dust this with flour so that as I put them on there, they don't stick. Well, we have turkey gravy and we have cranberry gravy. And yes, cranberry gravy, not cranberry sauce, as sauces for this nonsense. And also our stuffing is pre-seasoned because I used a pre-seasoned instant stuffing as the starting point. Which is where we're going to start. So this guy is the strangest one. It really wants to crumble. It has a little bit of a hard time staying together. I thought wrapping it up would prevent that, but I guess it's just absorbing the moisture. Maybe it has to go in with the potatoes. We make just single things. This is a lot crumblier than I think it needs to be for what I want to do with it. It's gotten quite a bit of liquid added to it already, and it just goes back to this state. That's why I had it wrapped up, because I got it to a workable consistency, and then I wrapped it up so it would stay that way, and it has not stayed that way. And I did that because the first time I didn't wrap it up, and it went this did exactly what it just did here. It turned back into sort of this crumbliness. I think it's just because it was this desiccated thing to begin with. It's having a time soaking up whatever liquids I give to it. Because it's not really shaping, it's just sort of tearing apart. What if I combine it with the potatoes? Because the potatoes were on the opposite end. They were a little bit too sticky. What if I make a potato and stuffing and then we don't have... Rather than commit to such a thing, we're going to take a bit of it and a scoop of our potato and see what happens when I combine them. Oh, potatoes are still really sticky. That might be it. Just kind of mash them into the potatoes. And then we balance our sticky with our dry and call it a day. Is that a bad idea? Because it holds. I didn't really crumble it super well, but the potato is definitely helping these crumbly bits of the stuffing stay with each other. Where's my board? Okay, we're going to do a... Oh, okay. When it gets too thin, it starts to break up. That's not ideal, and it's still really sticky. If we take a bit of... Is that heat on? No, that heat's not even on. What am I? This one is a test case. We'll take a bit of this and a bit of that. Put the lid on. Make like a little puck out of it. Okay. The stuff being very sticky helps it glue together. I think if I mashed the stuffing down into really crumbled it down, I could incorporate it into the potatoes pretty thoroughly. Let's give this one a quick shot and see what it do. I need the... Ugh, I really want to use the metal flipper. This flipper. I did press it down quite a lot, so we might be completely glued on the bottom. Okay, here you go. There's the first one. It's like a hockey puck, made out of potatoes and stuffing. It's actually a lot less sticky already. I think if I wet my fingers a little bit, I'll have an easier time shaping them. I should have thought of that, because that's exactly what you do with when you're shaping rice. Potatoes have the same problem, where it's the starches that are giving us that thickness, that stickiness. I probably should have just 1.5 cups of water. There's definitely less than 1.5 cups in the stuffing mix. I think getting closer to the recommended quantity of liquid for it would help, because it's supposed to hydrate into sort of this fluff. Before I soldier forth, we're going to test this guy and see how it works. But then, this was my end goal, was making these little stuffed Thanksgiving, like, hand pucks. Thus, to go. Or handheld. I changed what I had in the caption a bunch of times. Okay. Let's get that nice and bubbly. And I'm just snacking on stuff now. I'm just sort of picking at all these things. Okay. You're bubbly. Have a thing. That's the last of the butter. So if we need more oil, we're going to have to reach for liquid oils. Unless I want to use ghee, we could use ghee. Okay. Potato pancakes, sort of. We're testing this because the stuffing is still so dry and crumbly. That I think combining the stuffing with the potatoes and just doing a single type of exterior is the way to go. So I'm not ready to mass produce them yet. We want to give this one a go and see what the structural integrity is like. We also might want to grate up some cheese because I feel like having cheese is not a traditional Thanksgiving accoutrement, but stuffing cheese inside of a fried thing, instead of a fried starchy thing, is always delicious. Name one time when it's not. You can't. It's impossible. Okay. We have an ad coming up. I'm going to run that right now since all I'm doing is waiting for this. You guys can join me afterwards. Whew, I have not been moistened today. My glass. I didn't even fill my glass with water. Tripping over stuff. Tripping over things and stuff. I can smell the butter burning. Or browning. So maybe butter was not the choice for this. You guys are back from the ad. The butter is browning quite forcibly. I think butter was the wrong choice for the pan fat. And also, we need a little bit more fat in the pan. So I'm adding quite a large dollop of ghee. The thing itself is looking pretty good. I've flipped it a few times. We're getting a good browning on the outside. The sides seem a little gummy still. But I think that's going to be unavoidable. There's always going to be like a little ridge around the edge that doesn't quite get the sear unless I make these things really thin, really like smash burgers. Which honestly, that would not be a bad idea either. Make like fried potato smash burger. But what do you think? It's getting a good like brown spotting. I've got the heat. I'll turn up a little bit. I think actually the potatoes being so sticky is helping us because there's no, unlike if I had a sheet, a dough that I rolled out and folded like we did with the spring rolls or the raviolis or any of those things. There's airspace, whereas this stuff is more like a paste that forms a shape. So it fills in all the spaces really, really readily. Oop, that's probably about as brown as I want to get the outside. So I'll let the other side catch up, and then we'll pull this one, take a look at it. We have structural integrity, so now it's going to be a matter of can I taste the stuffing in the outer skin, and can I taste the potato in the outer skin? And also, my butter is burning. We're getting smoke in the room. Butter was the wrong choice. But that's about as brown as I'm going for on these guys. So I guess we pull that one. Butter was the wrong choice. I'm just going to add a little bit of neutral oil to it. To kind of slow down the rate at which the butter burns. Okay. Let's pop over to this guy, our tester. And here's my big knife. It's blazing hot, but I can't really wait. It cuts. It doesn't stick to the knife. It's soft around the outer edge. It's very hot. Looks like that on the inside. So it's definitely got a distinct layer of filling. I can smell the stuffing in it, so that's a good sign. And that might be our solution then, is to combine it. Okay. Taste is king, of course, and I want to taste it just to test. Ooh, it's so hot. Okay. You can definitely taste the stuffing in there. Yes, it's very hot. That's an emote I still need to make. The me being hot. Okay. Oil can go off because I am going to say that's our solution to the weird consistencies of our two main players here. Because that did work. So we will set this one aside. I'm not going to comment too much on it. Blazing hot, so they are going to want to rest when we're done. Okay, so that's our solution. We're going to take our potatoes, and we're going to take our stuffing, and we're going to deliberately crumble our crumbly stuffing over our potatoes. Because we want little, I guess, curds of it. Because the flavor came through, which is what I was going for. So I can't believe I didn't think of this originally. We can do this anytime. People don't pay much attention to it, but instant boxed stuffing and potatoes are both available year round. It's amazing. It's true. You think they just appear around Thanksgiving, but honestly, they're not. That's not. They're always there waiting for you. You just aren't paying attention. Okay. We're bringing back the masher because we're gonna fully commit to this as my thing. It'll be easier to add liquid to this if I need to as well. The potatoes are just easier to incorporate additional ingredients. The stuffing was just so crumbly that it was hard. It was firm and crumbly, which made it very hard to add things to it. Okay, so this should be now our perfect consistency mixture. Yeah. It's a little bit homogeneous. There's a few lumps, and that's perfect. So we'll take out balls around that big. No, I think that's actually, you're just right. We're going to take out a bunch of balls around that big. To form our, as Ryuya said, croquettes, although not quite. Oh yeah, this is much easier to work with. Okay. Once again, we're going to have a period of me stuffing a bunch of dumpling-ish things. We don't need that spoon. They don't really need to be perfect balls. I'm just making them into nice balls so that I can compare their sizes. Because this stuff is not like, again, this is not like a dough. This is more like a Play-Doh, where it has no structure, but it sticks to itself, so you can build things out of it. But then it just kind of mushes together, and you can patch a hole just by pushing some of the dough into it. That one's too big. Take a little pinch off of the biggest ones. It's still just a tiny bit small, but I think it's close enough. I think we're close enough. How big are these when I flatten them? Are they one sides or two sides? I think each of these is going to be one side, so we've got 6 here. Although I might be able to make them thinner, now that I know that they need a little bit of... If I make them thinner, they'll fry faster. And we won't have as much of that soft edge. So I wonder how squished out we can get them without them breaking, now that I've got them combined. Doing this on the board was a mistake, because it has definitely stuck to the board. Okay, okay, okay. If I take a bit of our turkey, oop, I pull this tendon out of our turkey. Look, a tendon. Yum. Okay, take a bit of our turkey. Be generous, be generous. Everything is so sticky. Everything is so sticky on my fingers. Take a bit of our cabbage mixture. Take one of these guys and we smash him out real thin. And we don't worry about stuff spilling over the edges because we don't need a firm seal because there's no liquidy center. There's no liquidy bits in the center. No, I wasn't going to put any liquidy bits in the center. I don't have a ton of gravy to go around. We got less than I was expecting. I'm wetting my hands because it's making everything so sticky. I don't have a ton of gravy to go around, so I could add just a drip of it for flavor. I think if I was going to do that, I would mix some gravy into the turkey to flavor it up. Our gravy has gelled because it has cooled off. Okay, well, our gravy has turned into jello, and our cranberry gravy has remained pudding. Okay, but we can make these all different. They don't have to be all the same. If I put you on top and just kind of pinch around the edge. And then that makes a really big puck. It's thinner, but it's such a big puck now. Because it's, it's... We're going to end up making a bunch. We're going to end up making these all different somehow. Because the potato stuff isn't a skin, so it has no real limits to how much we can deform it around the filling. So we can press it out really crazy like this. I'm gonna make a really big one. I'm just gonna make this really big one. And while that one's getting started, I'll make the next one. And by the next one, we're gonna just press one out right on the board. We'll make this one out of ham and a little bit of our vegetable filling. Oh yeah, did you miss it? Did you miss that? There's ham too. I think the ham is too big for what I'm doing with these now that I've got this method. It's poking out the top, which I don't hate. But it might interrupt our structural integrity a little bit. Yeah. Ham might be a little bit too big. We can, oh, it's good ham. We're gonna fry this one too. We're gonna slide the existing one over, put this ham one next to it. What do you think between the two sizes? Between the two sizes, not counting the fact that the ham one has some structural issues because the ham is so chunky. That's good ham. I guess we'll find out when they're fried up. The big one might be too large. My worry is that it's too large to manipulate properly here in the pan. That too. I might just have to mince up some of the ham a little bit while those guys are frying, just so that it fits a little better. Because we can do combo ones too. We can do ones that have both ham and turkey. When I cut the ham initially, I didn't think about how big I was going to make these things, and I just kind of gave it a rough dice. So if I just mince it up a little bit, shout out to Newski's Smoked Meats, suppliers of this ham. Quality ham. And try another one with the ham, but now that I've minced it up, just for the structural test. I'm not sure what angle to keep myself on. Since my gravy has gelled, we could actually put a little dollop of gravy inside these guys, since it's not a runny liquid. It would be not difficult to add a little dollop of the gravy. When it was more liquidy, I was worried about adding it. Let's give the big guy a flip and see if I can flip it without breaking it. And without splashing. Oop, we lost our seal a little bit. Yes, the cranberry gravy is intended as a dip for these things. It is it's cooled off, so it's kind of turned into a pudding. So it's not cranberry sauce, it's cranberry gravy. It's cranberries and a roux and chicken broth and some salt and pepper and ginger. No sugar. I've cut the sourness of the cranberries by adding things. Dancer in the night to go _ good evening. Hello, welcome in. Welcome to Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. We're still in the experimental phase. This here is what the turkey gravy turned into after it cooled off, which means we have a ton of gelatin in there from those necks, which is exactly what I was hoping for, and it turned it into kind of a jello in the pot. Burka Bork! I know that emote. Jabasted. Happy Thanksgiving, welcome in. Hello, hello. We're going a little bit longer than normal today, but that's fine because it's Thanksgiving. So we're trying to get a nice brown crust on these. The oil's a little bit deeper. The oil's a little bit deeper than that first one, and the things themselves are shallower, so we should get a nice fry all the way around, including on the outer edge. I think Ooh! What are you making? Always excited to hear about what the peeps are cooking. Pierogies and kielbasa. That sounds good. You know, I've never made pierogies. We should do that. Ooh! Getting some nice spotting and a good amount of crust on the outside of these guys. The one with the big ham in it is definitely having some structural issues. Rain. I did hear that there was supposed to be a downpour, like New England way today. Not that that's where you are, but see, I've just had the weather turn noticeably chilly, which makes me want to cook hearty, filling, delicious things. Stewing some veggies in tomato paste for pita. Oh, and homemade pita. I mean, that sounds good to me. We've done that here. One of my most exciting moments was when the first time I made pita and it rose and it poofed up into those nice balloons just perfectly. I was thrilled. We are going to drain these guys. Okay. There, beautiful brown on that side. And the big one is definitely too big. That's definitely not what I want to do. I want the smaller size. I think the smaller size is the more handheldy things. We should make pierogies here. Oh, the big one's falling apart. The big guy's also trying to fall apart, so that's not great. So that's definitely probably not the way to go with these things. Let's get... Also, with a big one in there, I could only really reasonably fit one other at that same time, which isn't really ideal either. They do sure want to stick. See, that one, you can already see much better structural integrity on the surface. So let's let that guy fry away, and I will build some more. This dough, I was going to make two different kinds. I was going to make them with a potato dough, like a croquette, and then other ones with stuffing dough. I picked up a box of instant stuffing, ground it into a powder, and then added eggs and liquid to it to turn it back into a dough so that I could shape it around the things. And we had a problem in that the stuffing dough was very dry. It was too dry to work with. It was very, very crumbly and dry. And the potato dough was too sticky, and it kept gluing onto my hands. So as a clever compromise, I just mixed them together. Why do I have another ad? I just ran an ad. If you're seeing an ad, I'm going to stop talking because I don't want you to miss what I'm saying. So I will continue as soon as the ad is done. I thought we just had an ad. Ooh, that one went fast. Yeah, so you're still here. So yeah, I just mixed them together to even out the fact that one was too dry and crumbly and the other one was too wet and sticky. And that was my solution. So it's stuffing flavored mashed potatoes is a very good way to sort of summarize it. And everyone's back from the ad. This guy over here got real toasty. So we definitely have some variance in our temperatures as we are going along. You did pay attention to that. Which means you might be done on the other side already. Yeah, I'm actually going to pull you now. Catch a rhythm. So the dough is a little difficult to work with. Not going to lie, a little difficult to work with. And these dough balls are... If I split them in half, they make a cake about that big. That one's spitting like mad. We're going to try putting some gravy, some of the gelled turkey gravy, into this one. since it gelled way more than I was expecting, we might actually not be able to use it as a gravy. So I don't want to lose it. The fact that it's so thick actually means that I probably could thin it out with some broth or some stock and turn it into a better gravy and end up with more than I've got. I will have to consider that. Putting it right in the middle so that it has the best chance to not get pushed out to the edges when I try to seal this, since it's going to melt when it gets hot. Got to keep an eye on these guys because that pan is hotter than I was expecting. Oh yeah, okay. Good news about that is we got a rhythm where I don't have to wait on one to get the next one on there. Gosh, so many people on this time of day. I so rarely go past 7, and apparently going past 7, people come out of the woodwork. Happy to see you. We're doing Thanksgiving today, of course, because I'm not going to be here for the rest of the week. I'll be back on next week. Because I have to travel for my Thanksgiving, and I'll be leaving tomorrow. Oh, there was a moisten. All right, I missed it. I will get that in a sec as soon as I get this guy off of here. I did miss that. Well, I'm not going too far, but I am going far enough that I don't want to make a one-day trip of it. I'd rather not go into crazy specifics. I'm in Wisconsin. I'm going to a different part of Wisconsin. So not an enormous trip, but it's more than I would want to be for just a day trip. I considered actually heading out Thursday morning. But then I'd really have to pick up and rush, especially this time of year when it gets dark so soon. You really got to get out. So we're not gonna try to race the clock, and instead we're going to head out tomorrow, which means, although I don't stream on Wednesday anyways, I normally try to stream on Thursdays. Well, I have been trying to stream on Thursdays. I like the Thursday crowd. But this week, obviously, and no one's going to be on Twitch watching on Thanksgiving Day. Okay, so we just did one with turkey and some gravy. We could do one with turkey and some cran gravy. I mean, I'm sure some people will be on Twitch. I'll probably peek in at Twitch. I know some of the streamers I watch will be on because they are not in the US and thus don't care that it's the US Thanksgiving. 3 daughters-in-law and mother. I believe my father is taking point as usual on my Thanksgiving. Although we had a big discussion. We're having duck. There will be pictures. I mean, you can see what I'm cooking here now, but there'll be pictures of this on my Instagram. But also there'll be pictures of my Thanksgiving dinner on my Instagram, which I should give a link to, probably. Since we've got people here. Let me go find it. Where's the... me... this... copy. This is my Instagram, where I post pictures of the foods. In better quality than this, because I use the camera over in the other room instead of the this crappy camera that is hopefully getting replaced this year. Oh, I missed the whole conversation. So distracted by the cooking. Apple pie, pecan pie, pumpkin pie doing Wednesday. Hope there's some left in the store on... yeah, sometimes the day of or the day before are actually better, although I wouldn't go shopping on Thanksgiving Day, just because it's mean to the employees. I think the cranberry gravy is not a good filler. It's too liquidy as is. Oh. Okay, I think I've got a good rhythm. I think we've achieved some modicum of rhythm here. I haven't been marking these either, so I guess they're all going to be mysteries when I open them up. I do tend to do my shopping at odd times, so I don't see a ton of people, and the occasional times when I go at a normal time, the crowds of people at other grocery stores seemingly every day, regardless of proximity to holiday or day of the week, just weirds me out. I don't intend... I'll probably actually stop at a store tomorrow, but like early, just to pick up some odds and ends. Okay. As for Thursday, the day of the holiday, not going out. Not going to contribute to the number on the spreadsheet that tells the boss that people shop on the holiday, so they have to have the store open and staffed on the holiday. You know, I didn't make a dessert item. We didn't make a dessert item. It's a little bit too late to start now. We could have turned this into a dessert. I've got one of these. but it's a little late now. I was too focused on this. Apples, cucumber, and bread. Apple cucumber bread. We could make that. We'll call that one done. They're all a little bit inconsistent. If you're new here, weird experimental combinations are what I'm all about. No, go back to the middle. I've put meat in ice cream, and first of all, we don't have time to make ice cream right now, so that's the first problem there. I don't want to be on for another 5 hours making ice cream. But also, having put meat in ice cream before, it's not great. Bacon kind of only works because it's so salty. We did crazy ice creams once. That was a project I did. And also, candying this here turkey, would be tricky with how shredded up it is. Interesting idea. Interesting idea. We might revisit ice creams and do a weird meat ice cream. I've had fish ice cream. Well, I should say I've had shellfish ice cream. And that kind of worked. So it's not outside the realm of plausibility. I'm just saying it's a little late to start a whole dessert item right now. I would have had to dive in a bit ago on it. Oh, interesting. We got one done before we. Because for me, we're pushing. We're at 7:20, so we're getting a little bit late for dinner around my neck of the woods. See, Parmesan also I've heard of that, and it's the same thing. It's the saltiness that helps it. I don't have any ice cream on hand. I'd have to make it from scratch, which we have done. My freezer is mostly frozen meat and a couple of frozen vegetables. I've made something like a pasty. I have not made specifically either Cornish or Upper Michigan style pasties, which are the two that I'm familiar with as actual specific like things. The problem is when I have ice cream in my fridge, I eat it. And then I don't have ice cream in my fridge. I hardly keep any sweets or snack foods in the house at all, because when I have them, I eat them. So instead, I have foods that have to be prepared. So then I have to stop whatever else I'm doing and make a deliberate decision to cook something, which means I eat less, which is good because I eat too much if I just have the food on hand. I'm making a combo on here with turkey and ham, and we have the next one already ready to go. We've gotten slightly ahead of the frying schedule. Although I break my own rule a lot. Recently, I purchased a package of coffee Oreos, Java flavored Oreos, and they lasted several days, but it was a full package that lasted only several days. So, yeah, that's the reason. That one's a little bit toasty. We should make Oreos again. I did that once, and that was fun, except I burned the heck out of them because it turns out they're already black, so you can't tell when they turn black. Ryuji doesn't like coffee. I'm sorry. I'm afraid I have to ask you to leave now. Oh. Thank you for the lurk. We do have a lurk emote. It's one of my favorite emotes. I made Oreos from scratch, from not having Oreos. And let me tell you, that was... Oh. Well, being allergic is a very good reason to not have something. I rescind my objections. Oh, we have a structural break in this one. You guys are watching me shape them, but you're not really watching them fry. But yeah, Max, I made Oreos here in this kitchen, and I completely ruined them. Also, they were difficult. They're made of a weird kind of dough that I believe is mostly... Oh, yeah, okay. That one's going to fall apart a little bit. They're made of a weird kind of very stiff dough that is like mostly cocoa. It's like way too much cocoa in it. Way more cocoa in it than you should put in a cookie, compared to the amount of flour that's in it. And very little liquid. I just realized we've got a lot of smoke. I'm going to go ahead and close the door over here so I don't set off my detector. We've only got 2 balls left, so... Make Hydrox. So Hydrox are very similar to Oreo. I'm not sure, because the homemade Oreos don't taste... Well, I burnt them, so maybe they would have tasted like real store-bought Oreos if I had not ruined them. But like the whole point of Oreos is that they are an imitator of Hydrox. So I'm pretty sure they just taste the same, right? The creators of Oreo just copied the Hydrox flavor and called it a day. Gotta get some of this schmutz off my fingers. It's a very schmutzy project today. Okay, this guy should be toasty. Yep. This guy should be toasty. Yep. I hear Hydrox is finally having a hard time keeping up with Oreo. Because Oreo has officially gotten themselves certified kosher, which was the thing that they didn't have. Hydrox has always been kosher, and Oreo originally used beef. It's always funny. Oreo used beef in their cream filling, whereas Hydrox has always used all vegetable ingredients. And some dairy, and it was the combination of dairy and beef means it's not kosher. But Oreo has long time resented that and wants to take that last share of the market away from Hydrox once and for all. And they recently, within the past couple of years, got themselves certified kosher. So Hydrox might finally be in trouble. Why is it whenever I make something like this, I end up making one that's too big? This happened last time when I made a thing like this. I made one that was just huge. How you looking? Toasty. How you looking? Ooh, not very toasty. That guy is looking toasty. Well, I mean, when I made the one where it was two balls, mushed them out, and it was gigantic. I did that with the raviolis, where I made one giant ravioli. I did that with lots of things, where I made just one that's just like double the size of all the other ones. It's not in terms of inconsistency. It's in terms of I attempt to make one that's huge, and then I change my mind and make a bunch of smaller ones. But I do it every time, and I always end up saying, I don't want the big one. I want a bunch of smaller ones. Ooh, I know. Since this is the last one, we're going to do a little bit of everything. This is good ham. By the way, shout out to Newski's Meats, Central Wisconsin, in Wittenberg. For supplying the ham. Not a sponsor. Get that off of there. Not a sponsor. I just really like them. If I lived closer to Wittenberg, I could shill for them and get maybe a sponsorship. Okay, so we have extra turkey, we have extra cabbage, and we have some extra diced up ham, which I just keep snacking on because it's so delicious. But that means we've got extra stuff. It's good ham. Okay, that guy. And this is the last one. This is the last one. So we are approaching the home stretch. I'm going to... Let's see, I was going to have two things on the plate because I was going to have the potato ones and the stuffing ones. But now we're just going to have a lot of one thing on the plate because we combined them. So I got something on my pants. So I guess we always need to think about artful plating. We're going to use the guy with the lines. We're going to put the heat on our that one. We're going to have the larger one. Okay. Heat on the cranberry. Heat on the turkey gel, which has just turned into a gel. Which makes me think we could add more liquid to it. So we'll add a little bit of liquid to that and see if we can't loosen it up into a nice gel. Oh, there's an ad. I'm missing the ad. They keep sneaking up on me because I'm not watching because my eyes aren't over there. Okay. Ooh, that one looks good. Okay. Thank you for saying, because I've got, I should see it. There's a big purple line that says ads. There's two of them. And an orange bar. I've got three things that tell me when the ads are playing. I'm not looking at them. Okay, so we're gonna heat the turkey gravy back into a gravy consistency. We're going to heat the cranberry gravy back into a gravy consistency. We're going to plate up on this plate with the two dishes for two different gravies. We're going to go check my camera station to make sure it's clear. It is. We're going to get my camera woken up so that it doesn't buzz a whole bunch when I... Come on. Oh my god. It's getting laggier and laggier these days. Okay. Have that sit there. Catch itself up in a sec. Check the bottoms of, oop, that one's burnt. That one's not, but that means this guy comes off. Okay. Our turkey gravy goes in a little bowl. Check up on our last guy here. He's okay. Our pink gravy goes into our other little bowl. I call it a bowl, but it's really a ramekin. I'm using ramekins. The cranberry one is more the consistency of a dipping sauce that I want. The turkey one really switches between being liquidy and being gelled. It's a little bit too much for gravy. That has to be turned off. You check the back of this guy. He's done. Okay, we're done. Heat off. Thing off the heat. Okay, come over here. Now we assemble our plate for photography, and then we take our closing photo statements. That one is the weird one. That was the tester. We're not going to include that in our photo. Likewise, the one that broke. The other ones, oh, some of them are very hot still. I guess we're just gonna make a fun little fan of them. Ooh, they are toasty. Ooh, hey, this one didn't seal properly. Break that guy in half to show the inner workings of them. That's a good one too, because that one has both ham and turkey in it. Get these there. Okay. We have the big one that's not going to go on the plate because it's too big, and then we have one extra one that I'm not going to put on the plate just because the plate looks good. We have one more that's not quite going to fit on the plate, and it also has a little bit of a structural problem. The plate needs something green. Just to stand out. I like the pink. I like having a splash of pink. This feels like kind of a waste just to cut some parsley and throw it on there, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to, just because I want something green. Where does our something green live? It lives there. And yes, that is just a parsley garnish. I'm opposed to parsley garnish when there's no parsley in the food. It's misleading. But what are you going to do? We will travel to the other room with this. You guys sit tight. Take my photograph. Do what we did last time and dip one of our split halves to demonstrate the concept of dipping. Okay, now we will come back and do the official tasting of all this nonsense. Or that cabbage core, cabbage butt. Whew. We ran long today. A lot going on to make this. Ooh, celery. You know, I have celery. Celery actually would have been an interesting thing to add to the plate as a visual counter. We'll keep that in mind for next time. Good idea. But we'll keep that in mind for next time. Let's give it a big old taster. Now I have nibbled a little bit on everything, so it's not going to be a huge surprise, but guys, it tastes like Thanksgiving. They're a little bit greasy. But it's got like a rich sort of unctuousness of the turkey because this is turkey, this is shredded turkey neck. So it's very dark meat and it's a lot of connective tissue. So it's got this really rich unctuousness to it. Let's try it with the pink gravy. That's the weird one. Okay, dancer. I'm going to be wrapping up real soon as well. We usually wrap up right after I give my tasting notes. Oh. Oh, that's really actually very good. This stuff by itself is really weird. It's sour and meaty and creamy. But with the thing here, because these things ended up being rather greasy, it's a really good sort of variation. Gives you that little sour punch. I do have some birria. It's cold. We have to heat it up. But I do still have quite a lot of birria, actually. If you dip it in the just this turkey juice, it like straight up tastes like Thanksgiving dinner. Like you've got the sage from the stuffing, you've got the turkey in there, I think the ham is mostly just adding a little bit of saltiness to it. The potatoes aren't disappearing. Neither the potatoes nor the stuffing have disappeared. So I'm glad I did a test run on that before I just dove in on it, but that actually worked out, combining those things together. I think lemon or lime actually would help cut through it, but I like, because cranberry is also a sharp, acidic fruit. So I like sticking with the Thanksgiving theme in this case. But really, just by itself, it tastes like if you got a bite of, if you made a forkful of everything on your Thanksgiving plate and just bit it all at once. Oh, that was the one I put some of the pink stuff on the inside. That's why I probably didn't seal properly. It reminds me of, so in my family, the day after Thanksgiving, and for usually a couple days thereafter as well, we make things out of the leftovers from Thanksgiving. And one of the most popular things that is usually the next day's breakfast, and it doesn't last very long, is you take the stuffing and you mix an egg into it and you fry it. So that's our starting point here, but with the turkey and the potatoes and a little bit of vegetables in there. Yes, this would be great to make from leftover. This is essentially, I essentially made Thanksgiving dinner and then didn't eat it and then turned it into leftovers. I think getting the stuffing into a fine paste like this would be difficult with stuffing that hasn't been dried out, because you'd have a harder time grinding it. You'd have to make these, I think, thicker and chunkier. And you wouldn't be able to pick them up as well. They'd be more crumbly because they'd be chunky. They're really chunky. So you could get that flavor, but you wouldn't get the fun of being able to pick. You can see the grease on my fingers. They're a little greasy. I'm going to say that they are a little greasy. I think the potatoes and the bread really picked up a lot of the oil from the pan. I was dubious about this stuff. I didn't want to go too. I had an idea and I didn't want to deviate from it. I wanted to see how it turned out if I just trusted the idea. And it was really weird when it was just by itself. I was a little bit worried about it, but as a dip, I think it works really well with something like this that's starchy and greasy and rich. I bet you you're right. I bet you air frying them would be a good thing to do, because the starches are so ready to pick up the fats from the pan. I think air frying them, because they were holding together pretty well as it was. I bet you're right. I bet you air frying them would be good, or putting them on a sheet and putting them in the oven. Perhaps even broiling them, because they're pretty thin. They're like pretty skinny. I think the best way to do these would be to get a big flat top griddle with just the barest sheen of fat on it, like a big pancake griddle. I think that would be the best way to make these things, because it wouldn't be as much fat on the pan because it's so big open space. It really spreads out. But I don't have one of those, so I can't do that. But I think that would have been probably the ideal. Well, my own family Thanksgiving will be very different from this, both in terms of flavor and presentation. So I'm excited for that. Look for photos on the old gram. I have not dug in to make any changes to our Discord yet. plans remain nebulous. With the acquisition of the new headset, which if you missed it, I got a new earpiece. That's my focus, is trying to get sounds, so that, for example, when someone follows and I don't see it for several minutes, there would have been a sound. Anyways, we have run quite a lot longer than I typically go. Oh, and I have a lot of cleanup, which can't be put off because I need to leave tomorrow. So we're going to wrap up. Yes, I said the magic word. That number will start dropping off. So I'm going to wrap us up. We're going to go right off to somebody. I'm going to see who's on. I've never been on this late, or I have, but I haven't been on this late in ages. Oh my God. We're going to go raid somebody who I watch all the time, but never get to raid because she's always on way later than I am, than I end. But because we ran over so far, she's on, and I think she's just starting. So we're gonna go raid Salberry, who I credit as having gotten me into streaming, not just viewing. This was great, and I did it with both ham and turkey, and I can tell you they both work for different reasons. The ham's saltiness is good. The turkey's sort of dark meat turkey, at least. White meat might be too dry. I haven't tried it with that. The turkey's sort of unctuousness. They both work. So yeah, I will not see you guys again until next week. And hopefully we'll use the intervening time to make some updates. So I wish you a happy Thanksgiving. I'm glad you just chose to spend your pre-Thanksgiving here with me. And I will see you next time. I forgot to give somebody a moisten earlier, so moist.